2026 is shaping up to be one of the biggest years for action movies we've had in a long time. And some of these titles? Yeah, they're already breaking the internet with hype. From massive franchise returns to gritty under-the-radar thrillers, today we're counting down the top 10 best upcoming action movies of 2026, the ones you should absolutely have on your radar. We'll talk about what we know, what fans are saying, and why each movie deserves a spot on this list, all while keeping it real, because these are upcoming releases, and we're not pretending to know the full stories yet. So grab your watch list, settle in, and let's kick things off with number 10. Because 2026 is coming in hot, and you're definitely going to want a front row seat. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Shelter, dropping January 30th, 2026 in the United States. That's the usual nationwide rollout that hits theaters across the country starting from the Pacific time zone. So yeah, mark that date because this one might sneak up on people. Starring Jason Statham as a former assassin trying to keep a low profile, the movie throws him back into chaos when he decides to protect a young girl who becomes a target for his old organization. And let's be honest, Statham in Quiet Guardian mode is peak Statham. Clean fists, cold stares, and that no-nonsense energy he's known for. Now, since this movie is still upcoming, studios haven't revealed every detail. So we aren't pretending we know the whole plot, but based on what's confirmed, plus Rick Romanwa directing, people online are already comparing the vibe to something between The Equalizer and Extraction, but smaller, grittier, and more personal. And that's exactly why I'm excited. Not every action movie needs a world-ending threat, sometimes a tight, grounded story with sharp choreography hits way harder. Early chatter on forums and movie blogs is calling this a potential sleeper hit, one of those films you don't expect much from, until it knocks you back in your seat. If you like your action raw, focused, and brutally efficient, Shelter deserves a spot on your 2026 watch list.
Will no longer communicate.
Coming in at number 9, and honestly, this one has horror fans buzzing already. 28 years later, The Bone Temple hits theaters on January 16, 2026 in the UK, which means UK audiences will be the first to experience this return to the infected world. And yes, that early release window usually lines up with the UK's local time zones for midnight screenings. So the hype is real. Now, here's what we do know, and what we don't. This is the long-awaited follow-up to 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, but studios are keeping the deeper plot details locked away. So we're not pretending we know every twist. What is confirmed is that this sequel is aiming for a darker, more psychological tone, with the infected still at the core, but with a new layer involving a mysterious cult-like presence. And that's where the whole Bone Temple title comes in. People online are already calling it brutal, bonkers, and exactly the kind of horror comeback we needed. Some early reactions from insiders hint that this might be the boldest entry yet, the kind that divides audiences in the best way possible. You know, the kind of movie where half the crowd is cheering and the other half is questioning their life choices. And honestly, that's why I'm excited for it. The 28 franchise has always been more than just zombies running fast. It's about panic, survival, and society falling apart in the blink of an eye. If this new movie pushes the psychological side further, while keeping that intense, gritty realism, we might be getting one of 2020's most talked about horror action films. So yeah, UK viewers get it first in mid-January, and the rest of us will be waiting, watching reactions, and trying not to spoil anything. If this lands the way fans hope, it could kick off the year with one hell of an adrenaline shot.
Hey! This isn't a robbery! I am from the future!
At number 8, we've got one of the strangest and most intriguing sci-fi action comedies hitting the big screen next year. Good luck, have fun, Don't Die drops on February 13, 2026 in the USA, following the standard nationwide rollout, meaning most people will catch it starting Thursday night previews across the country. And listen, this movie already has a vibe. Directed by Gore Verbinski, yeah, the guy behind Pirates of the Caribbean and Rango, this marks his big return to live-action filmmaking. Online communities have been saying the same thing, Verbinski coming back with a time travel, roguei action comedy? This is going to be weird, in a good way. The story we do know goes like this. Sam Rockwell plays a man from the future who walks into a diner, tells a bunch of strangers that they're the key to saving humanity, and suddenly everyone's pulled into this chaotic, time-bending mission against an out-of-control AI. And just to keep it clear, the studio hasn't revealed the full plot, so anything beyond that premise is still unconfirmed. But that's enough to tell us the tone: quirky, high energy, and full of personality. What excites me most is the cast. You've got Sam Rockwell, Zazie Beetz, Haley Lou Richardson, all actors who thrive in weird, character-driven stories. Early online reactions from festival-goers even called it stylish, offbeat, and unexpectedly heartfelt. But others said it leans into its weirdness so hard that some viewers might not know what to make of it. Which honestly, is exactly why movies like this stand out. This isn't your typical save-the-world blockbuster. It's more like a genre smoothie: sci-fi, comedy, action, and a bit of existential chaos all blended together. If you're someone who loves movies that take risks, or you're just tired of every sci-fi film trying to be the same, good luck, have fun, don't die might be one of 2020 SIX's most refreshing surprises.
Go, go, go!
Listen to me, son. It doesn't matter what happens.
Sliding into number 7, we've got a sequel that almost nobody expected, but everyone seems curious about. Greenland 2, Migration is set to hit theaters on January 9, 2026 in the USA, following the typical US nationwide release cycle, meaning early screenings will kick off the night before across the major time zones. And if you watched the first Greenland, you already know what made it stand out. It wasn't just about meteors blowing up cities, it was about a family trying to survive the end of the world. This sequel looks like it's doubling down on that angle, but shifting the perspective from escaping disaster to finding a future after the disaster. Again, not all plot details are confirmed, studios are keeping things vague, but we do know the story continues right after the fallout, as the Garrity family ventures out into a ruined world searching for a new place to rebuild. Online discussions have been interesting with this one. Fans are saying things like, "Please keep the grounded tone. Don't turn it into a giant CGI fest." And surprisingly, many people are excited to see a disaster movie that focuses more on human survival than just destruction. Gerard Butler returning also gives the movie that intense, determined energy he brings to every survival role. And with director Rick Roman involved again, the expectation is a more emotional, tension-heavy sequel rather than a typical big-budget chaos spectacle. And honestly, that's what excites me too. The first movie worked because it felt real, messy, stressful, desperate. If Migration keeps that gritty realism while expanding the world and showing the aftermath of global destruction, this could be one of the rare disaster sequels that actually builds on the original instead of just repeating it. So yeah, January 9th is the date, and if you're into survival drama mixed with high-stakes action, this one should definitely stay on your radar. At number 6, we've got a movie that pretty much every Star Wars fan has circled in bright red. The Mandalorian and Grogu is scheduled to hit theaters on May 22, 2026 in the USA, rolling out nationwide with those classic Thursday night previews across all major time zones. And yes, you already know those early screenings are going to be packed. Now, this one is interesting, because unlike the other films on our list, we do know the vibe, but not the plot. Lucasfilm hasn't revealed much, and they're keeping it tight, so anything beyond the official announcement stays in the speculation zone. But what we can say is that this will be the first time Din Djarin and Grogu headline a big-screen Star Wars adventure, and that alone has fans buzzing. People online are already calling this the safest bet for a crowd-pleaser in 2026, because The Mandalorian has consistently been the most beloved part of modern Star Wars. And now that story is getting full theatrical treatment, bigger action, bigger worlds, bigger creatures, and hopefully some massive set pieces that the show's budget just couldn't pull off. The early reactions to the teaser footage, what little has been shown, all lean in the same direction. This movie feels like classic Star Wars adventure, not the heavy, complicated political stuff, more of that fun, family-friendly energy mixed with the emotional bond between Mando and Grogu. What excites me personally is the simple fact that these two characters work on the big screen. Their dynamic is visual, expressive, and universal. You don't need dialogue to feel what they feel. That's perfect for a theatrical experience. And with Jon Favreau directing, fans expect a clean, straightforward story with heart, humor, and big action moments, the type of film that brings in longtime fans and brand new ones. So yeah, May 22nd can't come fast enough. If this movie sticks the landing, it could end up being one of the most celebrated Star Wars releases of the decade.
I think these games are gonna be different.
Cracking into our top 5 is a movie that already has the entire fandom buzzing. The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping arrives in theaters on November 20th, 2026 in the USA, with the usual nationwide rollout, meaning those Thursday night previews are going to be packed with fans ready to step back into Panem. This one is huge, not just because it's a return to the franchise, but because of when it's set. The story takes place 24 years before Katniss Everdeen, and about 40 years after the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That timeline puts us right at the 50th Hunger Games, the one that gave us Haymitch Abernathy, the mentor we all know from the original series. Now, to be clear, Lionsgate hasn't officially released every story detail, so we're not claiming to know the whole plot. But based on the book announcement and franchise timeline, fans online are already predicting this will explore Haymitch's brutal, game-changing victory. And honestly, that alone is enough to get people excited. Early conversations across social media and fan forums all say the same thing. We're ready for a darker, more political, more brutal Hunger Games again. People want that classic Panem tension, the injustice, the rebellion seeds, the survival instincts, and this specific games is one of the most infamous in the franchise's history. With Francis Lawrence returning as director, expectations are sky high. He's the filmmaker behind Catching Fire, still considered the best movie in the entire series, so fans feel confident this prequel will bring back that sharp world building, stylish dystopian visuals, and emotional depth. What excites me personally is the chance to see Panem in a totally different era. A younger capital. A harsher District 12. A games that shaped the rest of the franchise. This isn't just another Hunger Games entry, it's the foundation of everything that comes after. Sliding into number 4 is a movie that horror action fans have been eyeing for a while now. Kraken officially premieres on October 24, 2025 in Norway, with international releases expected to roll out into early 2026, depending on regional distribution. So for most viewers outside Norway, this will feel like a 2026 release, and that's why it earns a spot on our list. Now, let's talk about the vibe, because this movie is shaping up to be one of those cold, atmospheric creature features that sneak up on everyone. The story follows a marine biologist who starts noticing strange, violent disturbances in the ocean, and slowly uncovers the presence of something massive, ancient, and very, very hungry. Studios haven't revealed the full plot yet, so we're not pretending we know every beat, but the setup alone already has people excited. Online chatter has been surprisingly strong for this one. Early teaser reactions from Norway described the creature design as intense, immersive, and way bigger than expected. And that's exactly what creature feature fans love, not just jump scares, but scale. That sense of something enormous lurking just out of sight. What gets me excited is the tone. Scandinavian thrillers have this signature style, moody, icy, grounded, and patient. Combine that with a massive sea monster and you get a totally different flavor from the typical Hollywood creature film. This isn't a glossy blockbuster. It's darker, wetter, more real. People in forums have been comparing the early footage to vibes from movies like The Mist, The Meg, and even The Ritual, but with that cold Nordic tension layered over the top. And honestly, that alone puts this high on my watch list. So yes, Norway gets it first in October 2025, but for most of us around the world, 2026 is when the Kraken truly surfaces. And if the early reactions are anything to go by, this creature might be one of the standout movie monsters of the year. Coming in at number 3 is a movie that crime thriller fans have been buzzing about ever since the cast list dropped. Crime 101 hits theaters on February 13, 2026 in the UK, with a near-simultaneous rollout planned for the US as well, meaning most audiences will be catching it that same weekend. And honestly, this one has all the signs of being a sleek, stylish, adult thriller right out of the 90s, but made for today. Based on Don Winslow's novella, the story centers on a string of high-end jewel heists happening along the Pacific Coast Highway. Police think they're random crimes, but one detective believes it's all the work of a single, extremely disciplined thief operating under a personal code. Now, the studio hasn't revealed every plot detail, so we're sticking to what's confirmed. But the energy is very clear: cat and mouse, sun-soaked California tension, and a heavy focus on character. What's making people online really excited is the cast. You've got Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Halle Berry, Barry Keoghan, and Sofia Boutella, basically a dream lineup for a prestige heist thriller. And with Bart Layton directing, the mind behind American Animals, fans are expecting a grounded, stylish film with sharp editing and morally gray characters. Early talk on film forums has been calling this Heat meets Sicario but quieter. And honestly, that's a pretty perfect description of the vibe they're going for. What excites me personally is that we don't get many mid-budget crime films anymore, movies built around tension, performances, and atmosphere instead of CGI and spectacle. Crime 101 feels like a return to that classic formula, but with a modern polish and a cast that can absolutely carry the weight. So circle February 13th. If you're into thieves with codes, detectives with obsessions, and stories where every stare feels like it has a hidden meaning, Crime 101 might be one of the standout thrillers of 2026. At number 2, we've got a movie that blends sci-fi, horror, and dark comedy into something that could end up being one of 2020's most entertaining surprises. Cold Storage hits theaters on February 13, 2026 in the USA, with those classic Thursday night previews rolling out across the major time zones. And honestly, this is one of those films where the premise alone is enough to pull people in. The story comes from David Koepp's novel, and if you know his work, Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, you know he loves chaotic science gone wrong. In Cold Storage, a deadly, fast-mutating fungal organism escapes a government containment facility, and then things get weird. Of course, the studio hasn't given away the entire plot, so we're sticking to the official setup. Anything beyond that is still speculation, but the core idea is already creepy, funny, and full of potential for tense, contained action. Online buzz has been surprisingly strong for this one, mainly because of the cast: Joe Keery, Georgina Campbell, and Liam Neeson. It's a combination nobody expected, and people are excited to see how their chemistry plays out in a story that swings between horror suspense and offbeat humor. Early festival reactions and industry chatter describe the tone as gory, tense, and unexpectedly funny, with some calling it a 90s creature feature energy but with modern pacing. Others warn that it gets really gross at times, but that's kind of the point. What excites me personally is the balance. We don't get many movies that try to mix genuine scares with dark comedy anymore, and when they do it right, it hits a very specific sweet spot: tense, messy, chaotic fun. So yeah, February 13th is going to be a great day for fans of wild, creature-driven, slightly unhinged sci-fi horror. If you love movies that aren't afraid to get weird, and a little slimy, Cold Storage should be near the top of your 2026 watch list.
You're Johnny Cage. I loved Citizen Cage when I was a kid.
And finally, taking the number 1 spot, the movie that has the internet buzzing louder than a fatality screen, Mortal Kombat 2. This one lands in theaters on May 8, 2026 in the USA, with nationwide previews kicking off the night before across every major time zone. And trust me, those Thursday night showings are going to be wild. Now, here's what makes this sequel such a big deal. The 2021 reboot had its ups and downs, but almost everyone agreed on 2 things. The action slapped, and the potential was huge. And this sequel looks like the moment they unleash everything fans have been waiting for, including one big name: Johnny Cage, played by Karl Urban. Just that casting alone blew up forums and social media when it was announced. Of course, the studio hasn't revealed the full plot, so we're not pretending we know every twist or fight matchup. But based on official teases and cast confirmations, fans online are expecting the film to finally move into the actual tournament territory, with higher stakes, bigger fights, and more iconic characters stepping in. What excites me most is the tone they seem to be embracing. This sequel is leaning hard into the R rating, more brutal choreography, more practical stunt work, and a lot of talk about making the fights feel like the game: fast, heavy-hitting, and full of personality. Early reactions to behind-the-scenes footage and cast interviews have fans saying things like, "This already looks better than the first. The fights look insane." And my personal favorite: finally, real Mortal Kombat energy. And honestly, I'm right there with them. The franchise has always thrived on attitude, the swagger, the intensity, the over-the-top spectacle, and everything we're hearing suggests the sequel embraces all of that without holding back. So yeah, May 8, 2026 is shaping up to be a huge day for action fans. If this movie delivers even half of what fans are expecting, it might end up being the standout action event of the year. And that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 best upcoming action movies of 2026. Honestly, if even half of these movies deliver on the hype, next year is going to be absolutely stacked. But now I want to hear from you. Which one are you most excited for? Is it the big blockbusters like Mortal Kombat 2 or The Mandalorian and Grogu? Or are you more into the sleeper hits like Shelter and Cold Storage? Drop your pick in the comments. I love seeing what everyone's watch list looks like. If you enjoyed this countdown and want more videos just like this, make sure to subscribe to 10 Watch List and ring that little notification bell so you don't miss the next breakdown. We've got a lot more movie lists, reviews, and upcoming releases coming your way. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And as always, keep your watch list ready, because the best is still on the way.